I rarely get lucky in life, but I was very lucky to have a best friend. How nice to spend a Saturday night enjoying wine and revisiting old photographs. How young and beautiful we are, Tina said with a big smile on her face. She was looking at a photo of us taken 20 years ago. In the photo, young Kevin was standing next to Tina, and Bob was standing next to me, all smiling sincerely. It was our last vacation before we made a big decision. I realize now that those were my last carefree and happy days. Soon after that, we decided to have a baby. And our parents kept hinting at it every opportunity, but I didn't bother me much. I wanted it for myself and considered it an important step in our relationship. Months went by, but I never got pregnant. We both thought we were healthy, and it never occurred to us that there might be a problem in either of us. The gynecologist I saw assured me that everything was fine and there was no reason to worry. There was still plenty of time. However, the months became years and it began to take its toll on our relationship. Recent failures have created discord between us. There have been resentments and misunderstandings. Finally, I made the decision to have a full detailed examination, and the diagnosis broke me: infertility. Instead of supporting me and finding a common solution, Bob began to show anger and aggression toward me. My mother in law stopped visiting us. My parents sighed, looking at me sympathetically. Everyone thought that the failure of our relationship was my fault. Eventually, Bob couldn't take it anymore and proposed divorce. I don't know when he stopped loving me, but if he still loved me, he wouldn't have turned away during the hardest time for me because I couldn't have a child with him. He just left our house, leaving me with guilt and shame. I suffered for a long time, and it's hard to explain how a woman who wants to be a mother but can't, and her husband stands by and doesn't support, feels. He said that adopting a child was out of the question. It was a nightmare, a constant self torture. I felt inferior, empty, and unnecessary. I did not leave the house unnecessarily, did not clean or cook, did only the bare minimum necessary at work so that I would not be fired. Tina tried her best to get me out of this Mariana Hollow. She made me an appointment with a psychologist. She covered for me in front of my boss, trying to hide my mistakes. She drove me on vacations, called me, comforted me, made me laugh. I would have died without her in this black hole of despair. My parents didn't help, and I felt their disappointment. I will never forget how my mother reminded me that I had ruined her dreams of grandchildren. My weakness continued for years, but thankfully, Tina's efforts finally began to bear fruit, and I slowly began to recover. I began to take care of myself again and pay attention to the world around me. The first timid smiles appeared, and plans for the future emerged, though not very far into the future, but it's always better than just existing like a plant. The turning point was the renovation of the apartment. Thanks to Tina's help, my home was transformed and became bright and cheerful, as if an enterprising, though mature, single woman lived here. I loved my new cozy, bright dwelling, which was filled with positive energy. I wanted to shout, "Life, I'm coming back to you!" A year later, I changed jobs, and that was the second turning. It was not without stress. I had a lot of expectations in the new place. I had to work very hard to get into the process. Gradually, I gained experience, and since I was eager to expand my knowledge and acquire new skills, I soon became an expert on several projects. I felt important and valuable. Also, financially, the atmosphere in the company was also important. I was surrounded by young people, but I felt in tune with them. And when I needed advice or support, I could always turn to Bruce, the director of one of the departments. He was older than me and had a slightly higher position, but he was always willing to help. Who would have thought that halfway through my life I would meet someone so close to me? We quickly found a common language, though perhaps we didn't always trust each other completely. We liked the same movies, books, had a similar sense of humor and tastes. We worked in a similar style, valued persistence, professionalism, and promptness. I often stopped by for a cup of coffee during my break, which was a great opportunity for us to discuss work issues in casual conversation. I remember clearly the moment when I first felt that there was more than just sympathy between us. We were in charge of meeting foreign clients, and negotiations sometimes lasted until late in the evening. One such evening, Bruce suggested that I go out to dinner. We chose not a fancy restaurant, but his favorite place, which turned out to be very cozy. The owner personally greeted Bruce by name. I asked him if they were friends. Bruce replied that he was just here a lot, but I was disturbed by my host's strange reaction when he saw me. After all, Bruce was divorced, so he could have dinner with anyone, not to mention the fact that it was a casual dinner of coworkers. Until now, I didn't think Bruce and I could be a couple. I hadn't thought about it at all, as if I was afraid of getting burned again. But something woke up in me when I saw the way Bruce looked at me. There was something intense, deep, and expectant in his gaze. It seemed to me that he wanted to share some intimate thought with me, to ask me something important. But he didn't have the courage, and he just looked at me with a desire that made me feel. I remember the moment when he helped me put on my jacket and put his hands on my shoulders for a moment. It was so gentle and commanding at the same time, like the gesture of a man who wanted to declare to the world, "This is my woman." The cafe owner's behavior still puzzled me. So I decided to find out more about Bruce. Maybe I'd missed something. Maybe he was seeing someone else and shouldn't have invited me to dinner. I went to the employee who had been with the company the longest. She had known Bruce for years. Besides, she was a friendly and talkative woman. Casanova is what I call him. Even so, he doesn't brag about his love triumphs. Bruce attracts the attention of women, she said. Is he seeing anyone now? I asked, trying to look calm. But there was a volcano raging inside me. After all, it was just dinner, no date. Who knows? More likely yes and no. There are always lots of women around him. One wife, divorce, another wife, divorce, she replied. Haven't you noticed how these promoters stick to it? What skirt they wear to work, my dear? So looking forward to Lillian coming back to work after her maternity leave. She'll get the office organized quickly and get these girls in order. The flirting will stop instantly. I don't really care. I only occasionally drop in on Bruce for professional matters. That's the way it's supposed to be. Although, and she winked at me, a woman like you would make a perfect match for our Bruce. Quiet, businesslike, experienced. This whole business rests on family ties. That's why it's growing. And Bruce? Even his cousin Lillian once told me she wasn't sure Bruce was cut out for a serious relationship. I returned to my office confused. What were our options? I liked Bruce, but did he want to push our relationship into something? To flirtation, romance, a serious relationship, a one night stand? But since we're both single, we can have a little fun, right? No thanks, I can't do that, I thought. Besides, I didn't believe that Bruce would so carelessly ruin our budding friendship. That didn't mean that I could expect any serious affection or stable relationship. Besides, did my shabby life really want these love complications at all? I guess we both needed time to think. At first, it seemed like he was making up excuses to talk. He would call or email or summon me to his office so that, after a moment of professional business, he would smoothly move on to gossip or ask for help choosing a tie or a gift for mother's birthday. He went no further. Yes, I noticed his long, burning stares, but maybe he looked at all women that way, just because he liked them. Sometimes he touched my arm or my back, like he did between good friends, so I wasn't sure if that meant something or not. Maybe he was waiting for my initiative. Infertility and divorce had severely undermined my faith in myself and my femininity, so I couldn't make the first move. Maybe I misunderstood his signals. If I asked him out on a date and saw confusion in his eyes instead of joy, I would probably burn with embarrassment, and I would probably have to change jobs. The situation was not made better by the throngs of girls who constantly surrounded Bruce and increasingly made excuses to get in front of their handsome boss. He was a little over 50, but he was handsome. He had money and high social status. He was slender, with a nice build, a flat stomach, strong shoulders, and thick dark hair. He looked like a young and full of energy man. What would interest such an attractive man in a 40-year-old, barren, divorced woman? What could he love about me when there were so many young girls around? If he was interested, why wouldn't he tell me about it? For the past 6 months, our relationship has been stuck in place. We became colleagues, maybe even friends, but nothing more. However, I liked him a lot. I couldn't stop our playful conversations, even if I felt uncomfortable afterward. The problem was solved by Lillian, the daughter of the head boss and Bruce's cousin, who came back from maternity leave and started working in the office with us. She took matters into her own hands and was as sharp as a bull terrier. Quickly, she brought order to the office and nipped any attempts at unproductive time. She only allowed employees to go to their bosses' offices on important business. Since Bruce and I had common projects, we were not forbidden, though even here Lillian was always watching how much time we spent on personal communication. Lillian usually came in half an hour later, asking when we were going to settle all the important issues. She watched Bruce intently, like a jealous mistress or mother. Maybe she really was jealous, or maybe she cared so much for him. Maybe she knew enough about Bruce's personal life to control his contacts with women, even professional ones. I thought Lillian looked at me as a rival until I bumped into her once as she was pouring herself coffee. I couldn't leave quickly, and I dreaded the awkward silence. To my surprise, Lily was the first one to speak and went straight to questions about my personal life. She asked me where I lived, if I had a husband and children, how my relationship with my family was, and why I divorced and had changed jobs. She was curious and asked a lot of questions about my preferences in men, what annoys me the most, and my complexes. I had never talked about such things before and had never revealed my secrets to anyone. But the strange thing was that I didn't feel uncomfortable at all during this interrogation. I answered Lillian frankly and with interest, sharing my life stories. It didn't take long before about half an hour, and we parted happily at our workplaces. There were no more such conversations after that. But she was much gentler and friendlier to me. About a week later, I received an email from Lillian. In it, she sent me links to hotels in Barcelona and asked me to choose the one I liked best. I was surprised because organizing delegations was her job, but at her request, I chose the hotel. After that, we started exchanging nice messages about Catalonia and its capital city. She mentioned that she and her husband had been there on their honeymoon and thought it was a very romantic city. 2 days later, the president of the company called me personally and told me that I had to go to Barcelona. I was to meet new clients, negotiate, and sign a contract. I was shocked that for the first time I was going alone to meet new clients, but I was even more shocked when the president called me personally. When I left the office, I immediately ran up to Lillian and asked her about Barcelona. She said, "Go quickly, pack your things. An urgent meeting with important clients. I'll send you information on the negotiations. You'll read it on the plane. There's a flight in the evening." I'm so jealous of you. You get to see Barcelona in the spring. So beautiful, isn't it? Park Güell. You should definitely go there when you get there. You'll have some time to yourself. Lily glowed. I landed in Barcelona, went to my hotel, dumped my suitcase, and, armed with the map and guidebook that Lillian had given me, set out to explore the capital of Catalonia. It turned out to be a really fabulous city. A walk along the lively Rambla gave me strength. I couldn't get enough of the houses and streets. I admired the city, walking along the street with the columns that reminded me of Roman buildings. I studied the information on my upcoming meeting with new clients while sitting in a beautiful cafe. I stopped worrying about the meeting. I had done so many of these meetings with Bruce, and I knew exactly what to say and how to close deals. So I just enjoyed the opportunity to have a great time before the meeting started. Finally, I got to the stone cave with the columns. Lillian made me promise to take a picture of it as soon as I got to Barcelona. She said it would bring me luck. I chose a good spot for the photo and took out my phone when suddenly a hand with flowers appeared from behind my back. "I thought you weren't coming," a familiar voice whispered. I looked at the flowers, turned around, and asked the stupidest and most obvious question. "What are you doing here?" "I'm following the plan that Lillian and I made," he admitted with shameless candor. "With Lillian?" I asked incredulously, and suddenly all the pieces of the puzzle fell into place. I now understood why she had questioned me about my personal life, why she had asked me to choose a hotel, and why, in the end, she had sent me to Park Güell to this cave. "Bruce," I started, but didn't finish because he closed my mouth in a passionate kiss. I reacted violently, pressing my whole body against his. I thought this kind of thing only happened in my youth, but I found that I could go crazy at any age. I was afraid to think about love, afraid of the word at all. Bruce never once mentioned that he loved me. He definitely wanted me, and I didn't need to get my hopes up too early. "Let's go to the hotel," he whispered. I knew what would happen at the hotel, and I wasn't going to resist. "It's a client meeting tonight," I protested. "No, it will be tomorrow, but tomorrow is still many hours away, during which I will try to prove to you how beautiful and sweet and wonderful you are." I didn't have much experience with sex. The effort to conceive had little to do with passion. But with Bruce, I became a very diligent student. I almost cried tears of sympathy when he confessed that he had wanted me for a long time, but was afraid I would reject him because of his reputation. So he waited, waiting for me to give him a sign of permission or approval, because I kept my distance. He thought I wanted nothing more than friendship, and we would have been stuck in deadlock and mutual misunderstanding if not for Lillian's intervention. When I went back to work, she took me in for questioning right away. She was very pleased with herself. Lily had long wanted to fix her favorite cousin's love life and decided I was perfect for it. The fact that I couldn't have children wasn't a problem at all, since Bruce already had two sons from previous marriages, and he wasn't eager to be a father again. For years, Lillian had wanted her cousin to settle down and finally stop investing his feelings in unsuitable women. Even Lily's dad, the president of the company, became involved in arranging our meeting in Barcelona when he learned the details of the romantic enticement plan. So, this wonderful city witnessed the third turning point in my life.